Board here. And we have Amber, Ronnie.
Ronnie are on one. Vicky is on.
Hi, everybody.
That's Vicky.
Sewer.
There's 6 here. Drive form. Okay. This meeting of the Common Council for July 14th, 2022. Now, session. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sherry, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Anthony.
Here.
Gaskaludi.
Here.
Frick. Harris.
Here.
Morante.
Here.
Morris. Here. Roney.
Here.
Walker. Wallace.
Here.
President DiPietro.
Here. Can I get an introduction and a second to receive the call of the meeting by Brian and Dewan seconds? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Among our communications, we have a petition submitted by Supervisor Mia and comments from Sam Pratt. May I have a motion and a second, an introduction and a second? Oh, the same team of Dewan and Brian. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion. Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Okay. This meeting was actually not called by me, but by 3 members of the council. They would like to hear a update of the truck route study. And the presence of the mayor who's here and the supervisors who are here was requested. So you're all welcome to speak. A reminder, this is a special meeting, and according to our charter, unless all 10 members of the council agree, and we're not all 10 here, 11, we're not all here, we can only talk about the truck study as in this meeting, nothing else. Okay, so I'll throw it to the council members to, I guess, ask questions of.
May I,
Sure.
I don't know the order here, but can we have a vote to allow public comment?
Sure.
So, a motion to allow public
Motion,
comment.
is that someone want to
Second.
say? Ryan, did you all do it? Ryan, second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed to public comment? Okay, so there will be public comment. Thank you, Margaret. How should we start this? I guess we could start with the, see if the mayor would like to speak.
Sure. I guess I'll start by reiterating some of the things that book when we released this truck storage study. And you know, in order for the truck route to be changed, the following items need to occur. Creation and documentation of a feasibility study, coordination with local and state and county governments, which I did, even though I was accused in one of the letters of canoodling with Republican representatives, which is completely not true. I reached out to the Greenport representative. She told me that she was not interested in participating in any discussion that involved moving the truck route and Hudson. That doesn't mean I agreed with her or any of that. I just did my due diligence to reach out to our county representatives. I also called a meeting about a month ago with all 5 of our county supervisors to talk about this issue as well. I know this issue, you know, a lot better than probably everyone who's been an ally for this issue, because I've lived in these neighborhoods. I raised my kids in these neighborhoods. They play in these neighborhoods. I'm affected directly by the truck route. So if there's anybody who wants to move the truck route, I'm also a part of that group. But I do not have the power as mayor to just say the truck route is moved. And I guess I'll start there.
Questions from the council members from there?
Yeah,
Margaret?
I have a question about what lobbying, and this, Mayor, is not just you, but also the supervisors, what lobbying our supervisors and the mayor are doing on behalf of Hudson, specifically with groups like DOT, because I think that this will require us making a strong case to people who are beyond Hudson and getting them to understand the severity of the issue, particularly for the residents on Columbia Street. And what exactly are you doing in that vein? And you know, the reason I was really interested in getting a status meeting on this was after we had this study that was really comprehensive. The next steps in it was continue public outreach, address environmental, economic, social concerns with stakeholders, communicate project development, business community, and so forth. And I just feel, you know, we have this study and there's been very little public engagement or involvement in us understanding what the leadership is doing to lobby for Hudson at the state level, because that's what we're going to need, county and state level, that's what we're going to need.
I'll take that again. So we had a meeting which Supervisor Kalidas can attest to about a year back. And when we first were enrolling this truck study, we got a lot of feedback from residents. We got a lot of feedback from our county neighbors. The feedback from our county neighbors was basically like, you know, we're basically trying to dump our issues onto them. At that point, I said we need to rally together the county to help us on this issue, because this is not a Hudson specific issue. And in order for us to actually get any traction on the truck route, there has to be some kind of agreement across the county. At that point, I reached out to our assembly member and our state senator, Daphne Jordan, who both barely had any comment on this issue. I also recently requested that you, Council Member Morris, to reach out to our assembly member to invite her to this meeting. She strongly declined. These are our state representatives. These are the people that are outlined in my narrative that need to be at the table for this. I don't know what else more I can do as a local city leader than to reach out to our representatives when we elect.
No, so I understand that. I'm gonna just, what's the format and flow that's happening with the supervisors at the county supervisor level, right? Because I understand the meetings are, you know, they're ad hoc committees in terms of how we operate, sort of similar. There's also the monthly meetings that happen as well. But has there been like a general working session where we're actually getting the towns affected, right? Are we sitting down with Kathy and Clayton and and Janice and the rest of Greenport and the rest of Clobber, right? I think we've all followed what the, some of the advisement in the studies have been in terms of alternative truck routes. And this isn't accusatory at all, right? Like, I don't want to put the blame on one office or one group of people. But if voices need to be heard, what can we do better in terms of being able to do a better working session where it is the council on behalf of the people that we don't have answers for in our wards and yourselves? And the same thing for them. They're gonna have constituents down on Middle Road that don't care about where the truck route is gonna be, but it's everybody that's on 9. It's the people that are gonna be affected at the intersection of 9 and 23. My own parents are involved. So there doesn't seem to be like anybody is budging. The excuse that all people are giving, particularly our neighbors, is do something about the gravel trucks first, right? And so, Tom, we're not here to discuss that topic. They will stay separated, but that seems to be the default that people are going to. So to me, this natural next step would be get more voices at the table for everybody. Has anybody proposed a working session like that? And if not,
Yes.
how do we get that done?
I guess I'll stand up for third. I proposed that working session and I was told by Greenport and Crawford, no thank you.
Okay, so then I think we need to just keep.
Michael, would you like to speak?
Yeah, Michael Schmidt, third board supervisor. So thanks for calling this meeting. I think we all agree how important this issue is, and it's moving the truck route would be good, not only for residents of Hudson. Actually, I think the residents across the county would also benefit from it. There's a lot of economic reasons to do it. And there's even like moving the truck route, one of the options actually reduces traffic in the large portions of Clobber. There's even like Clobber residents who benefit from these changes. So I think it's the right thing to do. And as the mayor pointed out, it's not up to us alone. We do need a larger coalition, and ultimately it's a state decision. And so we need to rally the state to do it.
I understand the rallying of the state. Go ahead.
You asked me to come to this meeting. I'm here to talk.
You have the floor, Michael. Go ahead.
And we don't.
So I hear your interest in sort of, are you talking to other people? And certainly we're having those conversations. I can tell you that the culture of the county is that if I have conversations and then basically go report back publicly about my conversations, that's gonna be a hindrance, is that the other county supervisors are gonna be less interested in sort of negotiating in public, and they're not gonna want me to be their spokespeople. So I'm not really here to talk about what other county supervisors have told me individually.
Well, nobody asked
That's
you.
not, I'm speaking, please. I'm trying to give you context, but you asked about what's going on, I'm trying to give you the context. So I'm gonna ask you to be patient and let me describe it, or I can sit back down and let you guys continue your meeting, so it's up to you.
Continue.
Okay, thanks.
Ryan, not your meeting, please.
So my recommendation would be, is 2 things, is that what does the city of Hudson actually have the power to do as the city of Hudson to benefit residents around truck traffic? And I would recommend that we do that full slate of whatever is possible. And that's part of our leverage to the county and to the state, to say, the city of Hudson has done every single thing it can do. We now need other people to take action, because that's one of the things that people do talk about in the county, is they point out things. They say, how come the city hasn't done this, hasn't done X or Y? Why are you asking us to take a sacrifice if you're not willing to go the full measure? So that is an area that's out there, and so we either need to establish that we need to establish that we've done everything we can do, and I think that would help our cause. The other piece that I think we were kind of getting to is the council can also start to, there's so much work to be done, and the study does lay out some next steps. So my recommendation would also be is for the council to sort of step up and say, how can we collectively involve council members to be able to take more leadership, to be able to advance some of these things? You know, we need to do a feasibility study that involves larger than Hudson. It's gonna be costly. How are we gonna figure that out? How does the council want to cooperate and leverage our relationships with state officials to lobby for those things? So I think we're gonna be a lot more powerful if we can figure out how to work together. And so I think those are gonna be the steps that are gonna be tactical for us, is how do we get more hands on deck to work on this project?
Thank you, Michael. Margaret.
Yeah, Michael, I just want to make a comment when you were talking about the people who would benefit from this. It's very clear in the study that was done. I wouldn't leave out the truckers, because the truckers actually would prefer to have a route that went around Hudson. They do not, most of them do not want to be coming to Hudson. The ones that are, not delivering in Hudson, obviously. So I mean, that's another group that, to me, it seems we need. I think you're right, we need to get more people involved. And I am certainly interested in finding out ways that we can get really active voices in the city speaking up. And I think we have to take it to Department of Transportation. I don't know the mechanics of that or how that would work. In the memo from Sam Pratt, there did seem to be some avenue and some willingness on Department of Transportation to say, yep, this looks like a good idea. We have a very good proposal in option 12 on the study that circles the city and has minimal impact on the residents in the county. And I don't know, I think the argument that needs to be made at a state level is that we need to look at something is best for all of the residents of the county that has minimal impact. And I think it's a matter of real concern that the residents on Columbia, also Third, but residents on Columbia are being exposed to really unhealthy living conditions. Aside from the infrastructure damage and everything else, this is a health issue. And, you know, I think if we had talking points that we could take to the county and to the state and say, these are the environmental concerns that we've got here, and this is not a sustainable or tolerable situation. So, you know, I mean, I'm certainly open to anything the council can do to try to move things forward. I get your point about, you know, not being a spokesperson for other people in the county. I understand that. But I think there really is a value to having communication on a regular basis with the residents of Hudson, so that they keep this in the front of their minds and they get involved and they get engaged and they start letter writing campaigns to the state and to the county so that some movement can occur.
I agree with all of that, but I just want to add, that's also the council's job as well, is to engage residents on this issue.
I've certainly been doing that. And
No,
by
I'm
the
not-
way,
I'm not
by the way, I did have a discussion with Dee Dee's office, so I did follow up on that.
And how did that go?
It was fine. I mean, I understand her point of view, which is the purpose of this meeting was to provide a status update to the people of Hudson regarding what our supervisors and our mayor are doing to try, and also to the council, what exactly has happened under bullet number 1, continue public outreach. And that was the purpose of it. And in that context, for this meeting, there wasn't value from her perspective to come here to talk about to the people of Hudson, you know, what she is doing for something that is at the moment still a city and municipality issue. So it's not, it hasn't raised to the level yet where she would be very supportive of anything that we can get moving. But at this point, we needed to hear from you and from, I really appreciate the supervisors coming. This is who we need to hear from. What's the status? So
Would you like to speak to this? Abdus?
Well, I do respect the past decade drive that a lot of leaders started that road, started that road, city of Hudson. I also supported that moment, and we started in the master. I see that it was a drive we stopped a long time ago. So all supervisor was supported from that track road should be out from that Hudson City. But you know how you see all of us people talking about the state and Clara and again for they're not agree with us. We have to work together and do the making a movement from the track road should be out of the I like to talk about my petition. My petition totally is completely held. This is not a track road application, this is not a safety. You have to understand that. Track road, you have to have a agree that you have to state, you have to have a agree that Caliber, you have to have it, the input, you have to have it, the hustle. But truck route is stop the Third and Columbia, not a downtown Columbia, that is city road. City can stop that. A lot of people, that is the area suffering all kind of disease and all children, all older people. I'm totally supported the whole track route more. No, if I have to do something, I'll do that. Nothing. But we can show something, instead of other people, say, we do something, our duty, part of duty, whatever we stop the Columbia State of down. We can show that. The hustle did it. They have no agreement need to with the Caliber and Greenport and do that state. You don't need a order. You don't just need a local law for that down the Columbia State. That's the city. That's why, and I'm as a representative, I'm almost 16, 17 years representative. That's what. That's the real dumping down. I don't know, State Road go to this way, but how happened, when happened, I don't know. So I requested everybody. I'm looking at my ward people, health and children life, children everything, work together. I want it back to city, just to stop that one. That is my question. And we'll be work together, all state group, and I'll be do upfront, work with you and move that movement. So please, you have a hand, whatever you can do, show them that we did something. That is my question.
Thank you. I'm just, I want to let you know that the council's attorney, Crystal Peck, is looking further into this after I received your petition. In 1969, a number of streets were listed as not allowing trucks over 2.5 tons. We potentially could add those 2 streets that you mentioned to that list. So that's what Crystal Peck is investigating as we speak. So we have responded or trying to respond to your petition. But it still doesn't address, as much as that's a valid and useful direction, it still doesn't address the larger issue of truck traffic throughout the city. Yes, Mark?
Yeah, I just want to really echo what I was saying. I know that the
Right.
petition, and that is not certainly the truck route, but I think that he raised a very, very important point
Absolutely.
in his petition, and that is something that we as a city could actually do something
Absolutely.
about.
That's why Crystal's looking at
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
Thank you. Further from council members or supervisors.
Just point of clarification real quick,
Yes.
we can't touch anything on the truck route because it's a state, would involve state, right? But a weight limit west of Third Street off the truck route is something. Right, okay.
That is
Correct.
something we could do. But we could do something about the truck route by just really getting more engagement and being louder at
Right.
the state and county level.
Right.
About how you just.
Yeah, no, I understand, yeah, I'm kind of.
Yeah, in terms of decision making.
Yeah, it's our decision to
Yeah.
initiate a
Exactly.
weight limit, but it's the state's decision,
Exactly.
okay, got it.
And the only thing else we can do is speed limit, we can reduce the speed limit on the truck route, that's about it. They won't do too much.
Michael?
Yeah, I'm just gonna clarify, my understanding of the law is that the city of Hudson cannot change the entry point or the exit point of the truck route, because that involves like inter-municipality issues. But the city has a lot of, I think you probably still need DOT approval, but the city would have a lot more leeway to do whatever it wants from point A to point B, you just can't change those 2 points. So the city could change the route within the city, but as long as it put it on roads that were DOT approved, that can handle the truck traffic, or it can do things along, so it can't touch the truck traffic, just can't change things. Any change would need DOT approval, but so that doesn't necessarily solve our issue, which I think we want to just move the truck route to large streets beyond our borders entirely, which changes the entry and exit point. but just legally, there are other possibilities that one can do.
Okay, oh,
Tom, can,
Just for
that's supervisors first.
Oh, just for clarification, the haul trucks, if you will, loaded with gravel, go through the haul road,
Correct.
empty it, and then they come up empty through the second ward, so that weight limit might not be affected.
Those trucks are well over 2.5.
2.5 ton. I know what is 2.5
Yeah,
ton. It's
I just, we looked at it, extensively,
heavier than 2.5 ton.
but thank you. Linda Russell,
Can I just
supervisor
have a
Russell.
comment about, you also have the sewer trucks that roll through the second ward.
Yes, thank you.
So I'm not convinced, and I also don't know
What,
the law
I missed this.
sewer, they're dumping septic
Oh,
at your treatment plant, and they come past
That's
daily
it,
and
third street.
heavily, and that is on the road that you'd like to change, that's potential issue. Because I don't know how else they would go there unless they went down Warren.
Your other challenge with the weight thing is a school bus is 12.9 tons.
And the other issue about, I'm not sure about local delivery and how you deal with that. Just as a
That's-
comment, I'm
That's-
not,
You're right, and that's the issue that Crystal's
and
investigating.
to speak to Margaret and the rest of the council, I've worked on this truck issue for many years. I met with DOT at least 3 times about changing it, rerouting it, moving it, and the issue is you need the cooperation of the rest of the community. And that's what we're up against, so. And every meeting I've been in with people who we would like to cooperate with have said, forget it. Until you show some change of heart with addressing at least one problem that would help us relieve the city from stress, which would be moving the Hall Road, getting the Hall Road to be approved and at least getting those trucks off of our streets would be a sign that actually Hudson is willing to.
Do something. I agree.
This
Okay,
word,
well,
can I just finish? This word compromise is really a complicated word, because it is about compromise, and I think you can't have everything all you want every moment. So unless, and I believe that we can get something done if we compromise.
Well,
Thank you.
Margaret,
So, thanks, Linda. I'm trying to respect your direction to us,
yes,
that we are on these truck.
We are.
This is a
But I
subject
can't-
about
yeah.
which I have much to say, but I'm not gonna say it tonight. I'm just gonna say there's much I could discuss with Linda, but, I don't, it's outside the scope of
Thank
this
you.
meeting, so I'm
Thank
not gonna go there.
thank you. So.
Just one last comment. I'm just not sure if I made this clear. The DOT has always said you have to solve this. We have to solve these where this truck route might go, which is why we need the cooperation of our other communities. We can't just arbitrarily say, oh, DOT move it. They've always said over and over that we need the cooperation of the community to move it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Question maybe just to add to Crystal's list is that, is it possible to have exemptions for things like school buses, like a weight limit except for school buses? Yeah, so if we're worried about weight limits.
Yeah, no, we can, you put that in an email to Crystal and we'll work it out.
I think school bus is an exception.
Yeah, I'm just-
Because that's different.
I think we can open this to the public now.
Before we do that,
Oh, sure.
one last comment.
Mayor Johnson.
Now that we're all here, I mean, I didn't learn anything new, and I don't think anybody else learned anything new from this meeting. So where do we go from here now that we collectively have heard for the umpteenth time that we need our higher elected officials and our other county neighbors a part of this equation? We can talk to each other till we're blue in the face, but if we don't have our state representatives here getting involved in this issue, it goes wrong. So, I mean, I'm willing to start a letter that the council can sign on if they want to and request that, or whatever the case may be, but I don't know what else we can do as a local municipality.
Thank you, Mayor. You want to say something?
Well, just a question, just like, because I'm still a rookie yet. Maybe this is like a little explanation, maybe some people listening learn something too, but have we taken the results of the truck study to state officials and made into like a compelling case, you know, for the environmental racism that, you know, that this truck route like incurs in the neighborhood? Like, has this been packaged in a way that isn't 811 pages, but like something that, you know, I'm just curious, has that been done and at what stage?
The study was funded by our assembly member. So she's well aware, this is not a knock on her, I mean, you know, I have no issues with her, but we need our state officials. This was also sent to our state senators and our state senator, but we have had no communication to engage in any type of partnership.
No communication back.
Correct.
Michael?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I guess, bring it back to some of the points that Ryan has alluded to in the beginning, that the study does lay out what those next steps are. And then just the next step is not change the truck route, right? The next step is to do a feasibility study. So there's just like another chunk of money to do additional studies. The question would be is that who funds that feasibility study, and will we, it might be hard to get grant money to do a feasibility study without the support of the towns that the study goes through. Because in essence, the feasibility study is studying places that are not in Hudson, because the routes are not Hudson. So like, you know, state funding a feasibility study that doesn't have a sign-on letter from Cloud River Report seems maybe unprecedented, I'm not sure, but it seems difficult. So then do we fund the studies? I think those are some of the questions would be, is that how do we get to that place of doing a feasibility study? And so
Michael, you
there's-
might recall when you were still mayor, that we had that conversation, and they were very upset that they weren't included in the original feasibility study. So that would suggest that they might be open to this, or maybe that was just, you know, a dodge.
I'm sorry, who was upset?
The supervisors from Greenport, Colorado.
Will the energy analysis be completed as a part of the feasibility study, or is that separate once the construction design has been approved? There's, in the truck study document, they talk about doing an energy analysis of, you know, the cost of the different routes of, you know, the emissions, and I was like trying to start doing some math and then gave up of like how much CO2 is being emitted by the extra 6 minutes, right, of like 8,000 trucks per day versus like, you know, the construction costs and bringing stuff in. So just when we get to the point of, maybe I'm sort of putting the cart before the horse here, but an energy analysis would maybe is an important thing to do, and I'm wondering if that gets done with, at what point that gets done. Maybe we don't know.
Okay,
All right.
we have.
Can I just make one other
Sure,
suggestion?
Margaret.
So, given the health impacts that this truck route has on the elderly, particularly the elderly and children living on that route, one avenue that we might want to consider is, you know, I think we need to raise our voices as a city, but one avenue to consider is getting some ally in the Department of Health to try and look at, you know, this is, you know, there's environmental issues and there's the injustice issues, but this is a significant health issue for residents of this town. And that's potentially an avenue we can take. I think we need to find allies wherever we can find them and just speak as loudly as possible to get attention that this is not an acceptable situation for this town. You know, it's just.
Well, I think, yeah, just maybe like my own, like, and just speaking for maybe like you're talking to bringing new people into this, and like me being a newcomer, maybe I'm your audience for this, imagining myself for it. I think that being really clear about what we're speaking for would be important, so like the messaging from the council and the government, and I think there is like a lot of confusion and entanglement. This is obviously like a very deep and long-seated issue, and especially when it comes to Hall Road, and like that's obviously a very deep, complicated topic, and I think everyone can agree that trucks cause pollution and that trucks are presenting an infrastructure problem for our city, and everyone can agree that, you know, the densest parts of the city are being subjected to the pollution from these trucks, and I would hate to see, you know, people continue to suffer because this other issue of the Hall Road is not resolved, so I just.
We're not allowed to talk about.
I'm not, I'm basically, I'm like walking around the line of what we're not allowed to talk about, so I'm not gonna talk about that. What I'm gonna say is that I think we should be really clear that we're talking about the truck study here and not necessarily Hall Road. And maybe that's impossible to disentangle, but at least for the messaging, I think like advocating, for the truck study is, should maybe be kept as separate as possible.
Michael?
Yeah, you mentioned density, I just really wanted to emphasize we're also messaging to the entire county and to the state about why this needs to get moved. So it's really important that the particular harm, people understand the particular harms the truck route, the current truck route poses is because of the specificity of the city of Hudson. That the houses are extremely close to the road.
Yes.
And we have sewer and water infrastructure underneath the road. So those are really unique factors in the city of Hudson that don't exist in the proposed routes. So I think it's important to recognize that because the fear is that we're saying we want to move the truck route, and we're saying trucks are dangerous, or trucks are bad for our health. And so it's important that we specify that the reason why they're bad for health is trucks are bad for people's health, particularly when it's extremely close to people's homes, which is less true on the wider road with larger setbacks. So I just wanted, as we're all messaging, and that's part of the council's job too, right, is to represent this larger coalition. So we need to also speak really carefully about how we're doing that, because the fear is that we describe how bad the situation is currently, and residents in Greenport and Clyburn hear that, and they're like, no thanks, like we don't want that. So we do need to be clear about how this is different, how the proposed truck route would be different. We're not just moving the problem to somewhere else.
Exactly, that's true.
We are.
Council member Amber Harris would like to speak. What's that? Is that? Oh, okay, sorry, Vicky.
Hi, hi, everybody. It seems to me that by now we all agree trying to get our neighbors to let us do this is just time wasted. I suggest we should have a renewed effort towards DOT with the new study, with all of this information we have with our issues, and this approach to the higher DOT officials should be done between the mayor, some supervisors, and some council members, and see where that goes. I do know it was, I think Linda mentioned in the past, they did try that, but I feel there are new faces, and sometimes things can happen, and I think we should try this again. Thank you.
Vicky. Amber.
Good evening, everybody. I think we should be really careful about getting maybe an ally from the health department involved with that, because I think we have to remember correlation is not necessarily causation, and they might be a little hesitant to say that people living on the truck route are more exposed to health issues. I mean, I think we all see the correlation, but that could expose them to more liability by any number of these companies. So I think before we get the health department involved, that's something that we might want to think about a little bit more in depth.
The community members are now welcome to speak. I see John Rosenthal has a stand up.
Hey, everyone. I just want to put something forward. Tom mentioned it briefly. I really think a weight limit law on the west side of the city is a great way to have some positive action, show the state that we're doing something about what we can do via local law. And a weight limit will reduce half the number of heavy trucks coming through the city. And there really isn't much, there shouldn't be much reluctance, I think, on the council's part. There was in the past when I was trying to get this done, but there shouldn't be now. It really is a no-brainer. Exemptions could be made for instance, the sewage trucks. That's a local delivery. Colaruso's trucks have another route that they could take, so we don't have to worry about their claims, and we could at least get half the volume out on what we could control. So I think that's a pretty easy win for the council. It does a lot for the community. It might not be everything. We do have to compromise, but I think that's a good place to start. So I would implore that the council does this quick, because it can be done quickly. and it will have some immediate results, which is a great thing because there's been a lack of results. And I know we've all been trying, but this would be something that would really do a lot and would help the community fast. And it responds to Abdus's petition. And I think it would really help to show some action. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I see Ronnie. I'm sorry, I'm going to favor elected officials first, so I'm going to go with Ronnie.
That's all right. Thanks, Tom, and thank you to all who showed up to this very important hearing. I just wanted to reiterate basically what most of you have, most of my colleagues in the council have said. We're all on board in trying to find a solution to this, and what Vicky has said, as well as Margaret and Tom proposed. I think we should move forward with some sort of an action from the council, whether it be to change a law or amend a law to try to ban it. And even if we are, putting ourselves in a position where we could be litigated against, I think that would, in essence, generate some buzz around this issue. And I think that might do something to further our cause, because it is, we're not, as a council, as a city, we're not making these actions, we're not taking these actions for any other reason but to look out for our citizens' health and well-being. Sure, private business could say this is anti-business practice, but this is not where we're coming from, and that needs to be shown to the public and the larger stakeholders, whether that be the state or Department of Health and so on. So I would urge, my colleagues in the council, maybe we would refer this to the legal committee and explore that as an option in tandem with, further looking into another study and the other solutions proposed by the supervisors and the mayor. That's it. Thank you.
Next is Rebecca Wolf.
Hi, thanks. I just wanted to echo the statement that John Rosenthal made about the weight limit as a really immediate, or at least partially immediate step that could be taken by the city. But also, I just wanted to say I'm really encouraged by the sentiments expressed by the mayor, by Supervisor Shimides, and by the council member Morris and the other council members regarding finding allies in the Department of Health and at other state departments, and also forming a community coalition. It seems like it is time to finally decouple the question of the truck route from any local pressures regarding local users of the truck route, and to address this issue as what it is, which is a health hazard for residents on the truck route itself and an intolerable environmental condition for the whole city. I feel it is time to make a big push to the state and the Department of Transportation, and I'm excited to hear you all talking about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Donna Straits. Donna?
Yes, hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Donna Straits. I live in the First Ward. I'd like to make a couple comments, both of which tie into concerns raised by the Second Ward supervisor about negative impacts of trucks on people that live in the Second Ward and throughout the city, which we, our Hudson Waterfront, also share. First point on the desired alternate truck route, the truck study identified two alternate truck route options for the city's consideration. Option 6, we think, is a non-starter. It has the most residential impacts of all the options. It costs more than double that of option 12 at $3 million. Option 12 makes the most logical sense. Per the study commentary, the route avoids all residential areas. It costs the least at $1.36 million and completely detours big trucks around the city on roads designed to handle them. MJ Engineering conducted 2 online surveys. Option 12 was by far the public's top choice with 69% of the votes. Also, 80 to 90% of the public's top, 80 to 90% of the public felt that the trucks negatively impacted residential neighborhoods, local businesses, the local economy, as well as pedestrians and bicyclists. MJ also conducted focus group meetings with local residents of Claverack and Greenport quote from the MJ report, they, the towns, indicated they would be more likely to support alternative truck routes if those alternative routes don't significantly increase truck traffic in residential areas in neighboring towns. Secondly, regarding the truck volume, in response to some folks who may think that the truck problem can be significantly solved by getting the Colarusso trucks off city streets, we analyzed the raw truck study data and found that generally Colarusso trucks did not account for the majority of trucks on city streets. The data showed that for the study period, all other trucks, i.e. non-Colarusso, accounted for 82% of the 1,678 daily average trucks on city streets, almost 60% of 125 daily average trucks on Columbia above 3rd Street, and 45% of 47 daily average trucks on Columbia below 3rd Street. Bottom line, conflating Colarusso's application before the planning board with the truck route issue is disingenuous. It's not about solving the truck problem. Their plan doesn't do that. It's about giving Colarusso what they want, no matter what the consequences to the city's waterfront. What does solve the problem is that we are, as the waterfront, fully support implementing option 12, the alternate truck route. We've been told that any plan to move the truck route will get pushback from neighboring town supervisors who say that Hudson should resolve the Colarusso Hall Road application before they'll discuss it. If that's true, they may need some education.
Sorry, Donna, but I've made it clear, we're not going to talk about the Hall Road, so you've been muted. So I guess we'll move on to the next speaker. Bill Hughes.
Thank you, sir. And now that I know that parameter, so that you don't mute me. I did just want to make one clarification that the petition that Supervisor Mia was speaking mostly to the trucks at the lower half of the city. But now that I'm very glad that you guys are looking at weight limits. You're very intellectual counsel, and I think that you would do the right thing in that regards. But when we're talking about trucks in the overall city, there's a couple of things I can say to that. I hear quite often we're talking about doing studies or maybe not doing studies. Alderman, I think you were spot on. I tried to pull some of the data, and the earliest data, the most recent data I could find is 2010. But I think if you have conversations with the hospital, you will find that we have a pretty high asthma rate here in the city of Hudson. And when you pull that data, you will then also find that that asthma rate is really concentrated in the 2nd and 4th wards. And so going to your point, Alderman, is instead of looking at energy and things of that nature, look at the particles per square meters in the air and see where those particles are coming from. And I guarantee you'll come to the results of some of the communities that did that same study. And then you will have your ammunition to now fight bigger battles. As far as dealing with the communities, I was part of these conversations, and I think you guys are all doing a great job, aldermen and supervisors. You're right, it will take our state leaders, and the reason why it will take our state leaders is, I believe, in order to get some of those municipalities to agree, it's not going to be a conversation. You're going to have to come with a carrot as well, and the carrot isn't going to be able to come from us. It needs to come from the state. With the new Build Back Better bill, New York State is going to do very well from that bill, and a lot of monies are going to come into the coffers. And I think that they can incentivize, if they wanted to, with encouragement from the senators in our assemblymen, they could incentivize these municipalities through other projects to help ease off what is probably an environmental injustice. Not probably, it is definitely an environmental injustice that is going on in the city of Hudson. And if I were to start the conversations, I would listen to what Supervisor Chimides was talking about, having a bigger, broader conversation. First, Hudson doing some things and coming to the table, but then also having conversations with the state about offering a carrot to those municipalities to get them to move along. Thank you.
Michael, I can't see any other hands. Anyone? Yes, sir.
I won't, my back is against. I just want to introduce myself. My name is Matthew Heineman. I am a new resident here, 938 Columbia Street. I'm sure everyone knows that little house. We do have a bad problem with the trucks. I've got pictures here of the trucks executing the turn on Fairview Avenue. They're not even using the truck route. They're infiltrating throughout Hudson. They're very resourceful. The only point that I don't understand is the truck route is the access point and the endpoint. Now, the new truck route that we have, that we did the study on, is that also available to these truckers currently? No? Can they use those avenues currently on their own instead of forcing? Can they utilize that roadway? You understand what I'm saying, or?
I think the plan includes.
Like if I was a truck driver and I said, you know what, I don't wanna go through Hudson today, I'm gonna go and do that route that. You guys did a
I
study.
don't think not all of the roads on the route
Are approved for them to go through?
they're not, all- they would have to be changes.
They have to be changed. Okay.
That's why it's a $3 million. price
Because, you know, the truck drivers are very resourceful. You know, they tell each other everything, they kind of know what's going on. Could there be a way, while we start activating, can we make it harder for these truck drivers to execute driving through? Like the weight, do a weight check. Again, is there a budget allotted for that, or, you know, enforcing this, to have a police officer kind of waiting for them and say, come on, get over, because you know, as soon as he leaves, he has a nice fat ticket. He's gonna go on his CV and he's gonna let the rest of them know. So what can we do to make it difficult for them first? Let's just make it difficult. Now, I come from Huntington, Long Island. I don't know if you can tell by the accent. Historical village, I'm very active in that. There are other means of making it. I don't expect to do what I had to do. I had to do a huge hole in front of my house. I have pictures right now that I think they're from 7th that clearly show these tractor trailers coming through. They're not gravel trucks. I don't see the gravel trucks. And I know we're not gonna talk about that topic. But I would just think that maybe we could make it a little more difficult for these truck drivers to even come in and make it known that we mean business now. Then let the truck drivers start communicating with the rest of the truck drivers, because they really are just coming in, plowing through everywhere. The roads are not designed for this amount of traffic. Now with the state, we all know that the infrastructure is big, it's 1800s. We all know that there's been a big influx of people moving from downstate to upstate. New York State, Albany in general, they're gonna have to start looking at the infrastructure, not just in Hudson, but throughout. The roads can't handle the volume. More people are driving, more trucks are coming through. Once COVID is finished and the orders start coming down off the barges, we're gonna see more cargo coming out. So if we can make it difficult for these truck drivers and know that there's going to be somebody waiting in Hudson, and if you are not a wait, or you're not on the right truck route, which I know my house is not a truck route, and yet they're driving right across the lawns and they're coming right down the sidewalks, it's gotta be snagged and say, you violated Hudson, here's your ticket. You don't have to say anything after that. And then at that point, it's gonna start. Then we can continue. But I think maybe that's what we need to do. We need to just slow them down a little bit and let them know that we're here and we're going to start utilizing that power.
Thank you.
All right, if anyone wants to see those pictures, as, you know, if you need proof for Albany or state, they're here.
Thank you.
Do you want to scan them and just submit them?
Excuse me?
Could you just scan them and submit them as a
No,
document?
oh, I'm sorry, I had to put video cameras up,
Oh,
because if you know the house.
He's asking if you wanna have them scanned. so-
No,
Red.
no, I thought you meant that I was taking them.
no,
Oh,
I'm just saying, if you want to submit them as a document.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
that's why I gave
And
them
then,
to me.
yeah, that way.
Whoever would like to take a look at them, I have plenty. This was just 7-3. Matter of fact, Hudson Police Department also knows, because they were investigating an accident before me. So there's a lot of activity on that corner.
All right.
Enter these into John Rosenthal, oh, I can't see the hands.
John Rosenthal.
John Rosenthal. Right, your son to the left.
Yeah, I just want to,
John, John.
Oh. What's-
Ted Patterson?
Yes.
Go ahead, Ted. Unmute yourself.
Thank you for the tip. A lot of the things I was going to say have been discussed like so many times that I don't want to bore everyone. But one thing is that there was money put aside for this truck study that Dee Dee Barrett got the money for. And I understand that the work to date by MJ Engineering cost about $48,000, which would mean there's $52,000 remaining. And I was just wondering, what is happening with that money? Can we use that to help us in this effort?
Good question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you hear that, Ted? The answer is yes.
Yes, I did hear that. But, and also just about the public outreach, I know that people have talked about this all evening and I don't want to take up everyone's time. But, you know, if there had been meetings that had been happening all along about this truck route and getting it done, were minutes ever kept? I mean, is there any record of what has happened to date? And if there isn't, should there be in the future?
I think this is the first official meeting that I can think of.
Oh, so you don't have to keep notes on unofficial meetings?
No.
I'm not a bureaucrat.
There's like a 200-page document on open meeting law. It's really sizzling reading if you're.
Well, it's kind of too bad that this is the first meeting. Sorry, to put it bluntly. That's what I have to say.
Thank you very much. I see David sitting to your right.
Mhm.
Yep.
David,
Hi, everybody. Oop.
you gotta turn off one.
Yeah, I'm just going to use Peg's computer. Yeah, I mean, one of the interesting things, I think we know Sam Pratt sent a really interesting memo today, and one of the most interesting aspects of it, I think, was the historical perspective, that, you know, understanding just how much time we've been talking about the same issue. That it's been like 70 years, 7 decades of this. The state first planned to move, as he wrote, and I'm going to crib from him, planned to move the truck route back in the 50s when the highways were first built between Bell's Pond and the bridge. And the city leaders at that time feared that somehow it would hurt business if the truck route were taken out of the city. And since then, I think Sam wrote there was an estimate of 10 million truck trips have been taken through the city. And outside of local deliveries, I can't think how any of them, or many of them, or any of them have done much for Hudson business. The other interesting aspect was that in the 90s, there was another plan to remove the routes and proposed by the Truck Route Task Force. And that was a combination of both city and, you know, you can read in Sam's memo, at which I think he sent to the whole council, you know, what that was composed of. But it was city and county officials. And executing, and they came up with a plan. Executing that would have been fast, simple, and cheap, but that was killed by the Board of Supervisors, who also disbanded the task force. So I think that speaks a little bit to the idea of waiting around for the county to, other towns in the county to agree to work with us before we lobby for a change. You know, the opposition to it goes back long before, you know, there was any controversy with, you know, with the Hall Road or anything else. This is an old matter. And the only other thing was that the interesting thing that the task force revealed at the time was that not only did Hudson residents overwhelmingly approve of moving the truck route, but the truckers themselves agreed almost to a person. And, you know, I've done some battle on Facebook over this issue. But there's this idea that's pervasive in some quarters that somehow talking about moving the truck route is anti-trucker, and nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, truckers would love a nice, wide, open road with big turning radius and everything like that, and not have to go through the maze that's Hudson. So I think that's it. I think given the fact that, just to wrap up, that given the fact that the truckers want it, people want it, that there is at least one low cost, low disruption alternative, that we ought to get down to business and just start lobbying the state to do the right thing here. That's it.
Thank you. John Rosenthal again.
Well, I just was going to follow up quickly and just remind the wider audience that the west side of the city, the extended part of Columbia Street that the heavy trucks use and the sewer trucks, that's not part of the state truck route. Those are local streets for people who don't know. And we have weight limit laws on the books already in the city that essentially could be extrapolated further to encompass either every street that's not the state truck route, or we could just say only on the west side of the city, except for the CR district, have a carve out for the private road and the heavy truck traffic that goes in and out there. And that would be an instantaneous relief on half of the heavy truck numbers that are coming in. The empty trucks that are returning to the truck route that come back through the city would be removed. And I just want to say again that is a quick, efficient movement that city government could do to address this immediate problem while we're working on these larger solutions to deal with this moving the state truck route. So I just really want to put that forward, that the laws exist on the books. Any kind of challenges that would be brought to the city would probably lose out of hand. Any private interests that try to challenge it, there's no constitutional issues here, there's no takings. So it's a pretty clear immediate step forward that the council could do just by adapting existing laws in the books already to include those streets. We win quickly, the public would feel that we're hearing their complaints, and then while this larger group works on addressing the state truck route, we could at least have some good feeling that something was done for the west side of the city and the unique burden they face with heavy trucks. Thank you.
Thank you, John. As I mentioned at the beginning, near the beginning of the meeting, the council attorney is looking into this possibility. So
Thanks, Tom.
moving to that. I believe the name is Jason Forster.
Hi, Jason Foster. I have another kind of immediate issue that I think could be handled sooner than the long term, and that's maintenance. I would argue that Columbia Street, for sure, and parts of Green Street are not up to the truck traffic, and there's a lot of roughness, there's a lot of sound, there's a lot of these people along, residents along Columbia Street, sure are shaken by the roughness of the road, and DOT, I would argue, is not maintaining well enough for what is defined as a state truck route. So that's my comment.
Thank you. I believe it's our obligation to maintain those streets, not the state's. But nevertheless, excuse me?
Can you repeat?
I believe it's the city's obligation to maintain the trucks within our city limits. So that's something for us to address, obviously. We can't appeal to DOT to do that for us, is my understanding. But thank you. It's definitely true what you said. Streets on the truck route are having a hard time sustaining the impact of what they have to do. Okay, anybody else in the public? I don't see any hands up. Anyone here? Have anything they'd like to add? It seems to me the agenda for part that I'm concerned with, and that is the city council, is for us, maybe we should create an ad hoc committee that looks into both the short-term issue that we've identified, as well as how to proceed on the state level, even if it's something as simple as a petition to the state that we can begin. Also figuring out potentially how to use that remaining $50,000 or so to further our studies of how to alter the truck route. As Alderman Supervisor, Chamides pointed out, it's going to be difficult to get everyone at the table beyond Hudson for the next level of the study. And I'm not sure how we, as a council, can really accomplish that, though it's, who knows, we can try. Any other ideas, Margaret?
No, I think actually, one of the points, I think David made it, and a couple of people have made it, is that we have to take action because we're not going to come up with a solution by somehow magically bring forth and cover up and so forth. They're going to say, oh yeah, what a great idea. We need to start acting for ourselves. And I think we really need to start speaking very loudly to the state and to the county. I think probably the state, but we need to get the data together, present the case that this is an injustice and it can't continue. But we just have to find some allies outside of the city that will support it.
Yes, indeed. And also, I don't think the council has the wherewithal to actually lobby. We're not professional lobbyists or lobbyists of any
I
kind.
don't mean lobbying in that sense.
No, I know you don't,
Speaking
but I'm talking about,
Yeah.
that other kind of lobbying where
Yes.
we actually go to Albany
Yes.
and do things. We could go as a group or as a community-based group, but we're not lobbyists in the
Exactly.
technical
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
No, that's right. I wasn't really correcting it. Anything else before we, Abdus, Supervisor Mia?
So I think I go to the city, we do something, show them that we did something. Come on, we are move that everything out. We have to show them. Oh, they will say, oh, you don't do anything. So how come you come to that? Instead of we doing something, and then you can go to the further moment. That is my question.
Thank you, Abdus.
Yeah, I mean, for Abdus, like we just started from a little bit, start progressive, then that the people get, inspired by that.
Well, I hope to hear from council members who will be part of this ad hoc committee in the next couple of days, so that we can set up a time and meet regularly. And, I'm actually a little bothered, not in a negative way, by Peg's comment about why weren't there minutes. I gotta tell you, the only meeting I was in, Peg, lasted about 5 minutes, as Michael Chamides can attest, because it got so heated with the two local supervisors who made it clear they wanted nothing to do with us. So that's pretty much the minutes of the one meeting I've been part of. But you're right. If we go forward with the ad hoc committee and invite whoever we need to invite, we will have a better record of what we're trying to achieve.
When you say ad hoc committee, is that to determine the legalities?
Well, that's part of it, yeah.
Should it just go to legal? Would that be easier?
Well, that's for the,
I think it's something a little broader.
right, we're looking at something a little broader. It's illegal, we can't discuss that other issue. Because as John Roosevelt pointed out, there will be an issue with trying to do that.
Yes.
West of Third Street. We don't need to go into it now, but it's already been circulated what might happen.
I'd like to join that committee as a community member.
And what's your name again?
We don't accept no community member.
You're welcome. Yes, sir.
Real quick question. So, is it Columbia County that is the obstacle here, that we're not getting the support? Is that what we're talking about also?
Well, I'm not sure if you know the history of this, but the alternate routes involve going outside of Hudson.
Exactly.
And that means.
But the outside of Hudson, is that, aren't we in Columbia County? Because like downstate, it's Nassau County, Suffolk County. Huntington Township is under Suffolk County. We usually go through the county first and then we go to the next level. So shouldn't we be focusing on Columbia County first and getting that going and then move up to Albany like we do downstate? is Columbia County the ones that are really not like Claverack? The other towns, are those the ones that we seem to be having the roadblocks?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so we really need to stay focused on narrowing down what we need to do to get Columbia County on board.
So it's too specific supervisors.
Okay. Now, are those two supervisors part of, are they the name of Columbia County?
They are,
They are.
but they, like these supervisors, and actually more so, they oversee, like the mayor, they oversee, they're the executive in their towns.
Okay, so we need to work on that, correct? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, they have town boards. They have
Okay,
supervisors.
Can you
Whatever you.
I mean, you know, I don't want to overstep, it's just that.
That was gonna be my point earlier about like the working session, and Linda and I talked about this ad nauseum, is it's us showing up at the regular Greenport town meetings and the Clobber meetings and the planning boards. We've got $50,000. Has anybody gone back in Olive Branch to the planning board directly and said, let's get you on board, we'll pay for it? Is 50,000 enough? I don't know. I'm not a survey expert, but do we at least start, Bill, to your point on the carrot? I don't know if the supervisors have gone directly to the planning board and kind of gone bottom up in each of those municipalities to try to do it as well. And if you haven't, that's fine. I'm more than willing to go on the 26th I've been looking up, which is the Greenport Town Board element for it, right? Kathy's not, they can be difficult. We know what they're looking out for their best interests that are there, but they're not unreasonable people from that aspect.
Yeah.
So I think if you go in with the money problem solved to start and go through the planning board, right? I mean, Greenport is in time of expansion right now. I will tell you for a fact that there are council members on Greenport Town Council that want to see simple things like zoning. If you've seen what they've just done with McDonald's and Aldi and all of that, you want to get people on board, go talk to the people that took a bath on their property values because of what went in there. So now there's a push for certain people that want zoning. But what I'm hearing, and Michael, this wasn't accusatory to you at all or any of the other supervisors, but it's the idea that if it's the supervisors and the board of supervisors meeting that's not getting anywhere, bring it down a level and let's start by going to each municipality and the people that aren't at the supervisor level. I don't know if we have done that yet, and if we haven't, is it a viable route to go council to council to try to get the groundswell?
In other words, start knocking on some doors.
Correct.
And introducing this.
Correct.
Well, this is, my hope.
I would like, like I said, I would like to get involved in any way I can. I've been very productive down in Huntington, so. All on me, and I'll go knocking.
But I think that's the hope for this. Michael? What's that?
You have one more hand from the public. Dave Patterson wants to speak.
And who is it?
Dave Patterson.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. I'll let you be muted.
David, unmute.
Okay, David, you're muted.
Okay.
Very
What
good.
what I wanted to mention is that it's like an obvious thing, and I'm no truck expert, but I have a feeling that the trucks have gotten much larger in over 70 years.
Absolutely.
We're dealing with these monster trucks. And the street is just so small, it's so narrow that it's just so inappropriate, and that's all I'm saying.
Thank you. Yeah, you can't help observing that everywhere. So.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, no, Linda has,
Yes.
I'd be willing to be on this, whatever this committee, whatever you're calling it. I'm certainly ground zero on the truck route. I've
I
been
know.
arguing about it for a long time.
Well, this is great. We've
I
never-
think the reality is that we have to do a larger conversation, because what's good for Hudson is good for the county. And it's good for the larger, the roads that circle us and all of that, and I think that's the case to be made.
To get Columbia then to
Maybe get somewhere.
push the ball up to all.
Thank you. We've never had both the mayor and a supervisor volunteer for one of our ad hoc committees. It's the first, and it's still encouraging. Yes,
my
I'm.
name.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now,
Now,
Donna, can you repeat your,
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, can you keep it quiet up there, gentlemen? All those in favor? Aye, anyone opposed? Okay, thank you all for attending and participating, appreciate it. So Dominic.
Yes.